if they are better, then they're not going to be in the sweepstakes, you would assume, for a certain USC quarterback in Caleb Williams. And I mean, he's going to be a talking point on this show kind of indefinitely until we know where things are with the Cardinals' first overall pick and Houston. But that has not stopped his father, Carl, from speaking to GQ magazine. Carl, this is what Carl had to say. And this is a sub quote of a much bigger piece. So I encourage everybody, go check it out. But this is from Carl Williams. And Caleb was part of this big photo shoot. It was, the new king of college football. Great. Caleb's a phenomenal prospect. But in terms of Caleb Williams going to the team that has the first overall pick, well, not so fast. This is from Carl Williams to GQ. I mean, I've talked to Archie Manning. His career was shot because he went to a horrible organization. I've talked to Lincoln Riley. I've talked to Kyler Murray. And Kyler struggled because of where he was drafted. Baker Mayfield struggled mightily because of where he was drafted. The organization matters. He also went on to basically say that we've got a break glass in case of emergency option. Caleb's got 2 shots at the apple, and that basically the NFL draft is a funky process, and that Caleb would almost be better not being drafted than being drafted first because the system's backwards. You go to the worst possible situation, the worst organization in the league, blah, blah, blah. So that took over Twitter this morning. We got to talk about it because, again, everybody correlates that with a bird on a helmet with Caleb Williams when you see that. So I'll give my opinion here in a second. But, Bo, you see that. What are your initial thoughts to old Carl Williams?
It's just kind of tough shit. I mean, that's the way that the NFL works. They want to take teams that are at the bottom of the league. They give them opportunities to expedite a rebuild, get talented players in the building. And, I'm sure it's scary for a prospect who has, the highest ceiling to get put in an organization that is especially just struggled, is at that time, if not the worst, but one of the worst teams in the league. Everybody would love to cherry pick where they want to go, but that's just not the case in the NFL. And, I would absolutely, if he becomes one of those prospects that wants to shy away from the Cardinals or any organization for that matter, because they're scared of the situation they're going in. It's just, I don't know if that's the competitor that you want necessarily. I'm taking this with a grain of salt though. I mean, it's GQ's asking his dad, about the entire process. And sometimes we don't even go that deep. I'm going to take it with a grain of salt because our guy, GM Saul Bookman, sat down face to face with Caleb Williams. He said it would be cool to come to the Arizona Cardinals. And as the quote pointed out, he talked to Lincoln Riley, who was talking about Kyler Murray's experience coming out of the gates, where Kyler had some early success with the organization, but of course that tapered off. But this is a brand new organization, and they're going to see that, if they haven't already seen that, the new guy calling the shots in Monty Ossenford, it's not Steve Keim any longer. It's not Cliff Kingsbury at the head coaching position. He's whoever the prospect is, whether it's Caleb Williams or somebody else, is going to be put in a lot better spot for success than previous prospects coming into this organization.
Yeah, it's something that I think bears watching, but I also believe, Bo, to your point, like, this is the quickest way for me to start talking about Drake Maye. Like, I called him Drake Maye bust, but maybe he's a bust, but maybe also, like, in all seriousness, this organization, if they dig their heels in on something like this, which I don't think they're going to do, you think Monty Ossenford is going to beg Carl Williams to say, well, let me draft your son, please let it happen? Like, no, I don't think they're going to want somebody to come play for their franchise that doesn't want to go there and have that mentality you talked about, like the dog mentality, right? What did the players have on the front and the back of their shirts or their workout uniforms today? What did it say, Bo?
Dog culture, and then at the bottom of their shirt tail is dog.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's funny. It's tongue in cheek. But that's what they're looking for.
Right.
And again, I'm going to give Caleb the benefit of the doubt because this is not his words, and inevitably it's going to be his decision. I saw people on Twitter say his dad's making the call. Like, he's a grown ass man. He can make this decision for himself. Plus, the league, the Mannings run the NFL. Now, then, previously, like, Peyton was a god. Now? Archie was a big time player. Well, I'm trying to contextualize
Archie to take care of Arch. Maybe get him to start at Texas first.
The point I'm trying to make is when Archie Manning and Eli Manning did that, they had some clout to do it, right?
Right.
I love Caleb Williams. Like, what has he proven more than somebody like Trevor Lawrence, who goes first overall and has changed the culture in Jacksonville? Or Joe Burrow, 2 years in Cincinnati, dumpster fire, goes to a Super Bowl. Like, if I'm these other teams, these other owners, they don't want to play this game, right? You think, like, this is not just specific to Michael Bidwell and the Cardinals situation. These other owners, whether it's Gruden with the Vegas Raiders or Washington's new ownership, like, nobody wants to set a precedent. Like, could be the Cardinals this year. Shit, it could be us next year with Deion Sanders if he decides to stay. And I love the NBA. They do not want this to become the NBA where the players run 99% of the show, free agency, the draft, what have you. Like, the NFL has a very specific way of doing things, and it makes people a lot of money. And the parity and the ability to flip a roster in 12 to 18 months and change a culture is why it's the greatest product in America, in the world, right? And so if you're telling a fan base, no, you know what, your ownership's a little shaky, like, we're not going to send the generational prospect, even though you own the rights first overall, it's a horrible message, and one that Goodell is, in my opinion, will never tolerate. Not like Tagliabue did for the Manning family.
Right. And that's why it hasn't happened in forever, right? 20 plus years now, or almost 20 years, but it was a 2004 draft where Manning and the Mannings pulled that card and ended up having to flip-flop picks with the Chargers, and they get Phillip Rivers. That worked out for him. And, it's the Cardinals have a lot of opportunity between now and draft time to figure some things out. Right. Mainly, I see everybody in the chat. Absolutely. Kyler Murray, he's on the roster. He's still the top option for the Arizona Cardinals moving forward at the position, no doubt about it. And then even if they end up with the top pick, they've got the conversations that they can have between now and then. Obviously, on the field of play, they can speak with their team and how it's performing and how Jonathan Gannon's coaching them up and how the offseason moves and cleaning house here and the new players they brought in and from the previous draft class, how much success or lack of success that happens under Monty Ossenfort in year one. And then the conversations getting Caleb Williams, if he's the guy and the Cardinals have the pick during the draft process in front of JG and Monty Ossenfort, and them really kind of telling what the new culture is all about. Like, if the decision was made today, then look, if Caleb Williams' dad, Carl, he feels like it's the wrong situation, then he can have that opinion. But the reality is the decision isn't it's not for months from now. And the Arizona Cardinals have a lot of football to be played and a lot of decisions to be made between now and then. And also, Caleb Williams has to continue to play and continue on his trajectory between now and then.